Welcome to the Principles of Performance podcast, where we discuss how to optimize your health, fitness, and performance. Drawing on decades of experience of working as coaches, consultants, and trainers to top performers, athletes, and teens from professional sports to top universities to the U.S. military, Eric DeGatti and Mike Perry discuss topics and strategies of how to perform at your highest level and be your very best. Join us and our friends and colleagues who are leaders in the fitness and performance industry as we investigate and challenge the most popular training, nutrition, lifestyle, and recovery protocols.
And away we go. Here we are with episode number 59 of the Principles of Performance podcast. I'm your host, Eric DeGatti, along with my friend and co-host, Mike Perry. Mike, welcome to another incredible show we got lined up today.
Another beautiful day here. And boy, do we have a guest. This guy, he's done it all. He's, remember that old thing, Where's Waldo? We had to try to find where people are. I feel like that's what Brian does. I feel like we're always just trying to figure out, where he is and what he's doing and what movie set he's on and how many celebrities is he hanging out with this day. And no, honestly, look, Brian's done a lot. He's one of the best out there, and I don't want to sort of steal his bio, but he's got some cool stuff, and we are excited to have Brian on today.
Yeah, he's kind of I wasn't gonna go Waldo. I was gonna think like world's most interesting man. You know what I mean? Like that. He's that guy.
There you go.
He's had a very unique and successful career in the fitness and performance industry. So after he graduates from UCLA, where he studied sports medicine, he went on to become an assistant athletic trainer with the Jacksonville Jaguars, where is a common connection that we also both worked with Coach Tom Coughlin, right?
Yeah, man.
And then he became the head trainer and strength coach for the Los Angeles Avengers in the Arena Football League. And then he switched paths. He went to the fitness world and he started BRIK Fitness in Redondo Beach, California. And he began to build this celebrity clientele, as Mike alluded to, that's had big names from Mark Wahlberg, Amy Adams, Anthony Mackie, Mila Kunis, Will Farrell, you name it. And then in 2017, he started Elementally Strong, and he shares his wisdom and passion for functional fitness as a consultant for organizations including TRX, FMS, Perform Better, Everlast, and UnderArmour. And probably, as you'll notice in the next 45 minutes to an hour, he's also one of those guys, he just walks in a room and you feel better. He just lights up a room, and that's why we're excited to have him with us. Brian, welcome.
Oh, God. Eric, Mike, guys, it's an honor. Thank you so much for seeing me and having me aboard. Like I said, just honored and so happy to be here with you guys today.
All right, so we got Brian Nguyen. So he's all yours, Perry. You take the first shot.
All right. So look, everybody wants to hear the cool stories about the movie stars, and we're going to get to that because I'm going to drill you on Will Farrell. That's all I'm going to really do. No, I'm just messing with you. But
I got some good ones.
I'm sure you do. Let's talk about your history in the sports world. Working as an athletic trainer and how that experience helped you to get where you are today.
Without it, I wouldn't be here. To know me is to know that I'm one of those guys. I'm Doug, on in the movie Up, squirrel, like what's the shiny thing? Hello. So back at UCLA, I had aspirations of being a volleyball player and being in that athletic world for UCLA. I mean, man, to wear the uniforms and the blue and gold and like, wow, this is what I want to be on campus. We had that Sports Illustrated layout where it's like the most athletic, school. And it was, UCLA athletics, and I wanted to be a part of it. Right. So trying out for the volleyball team, it was, no go. But seeing the guy that was making the Gatorade and his UCLA sports medicine shirt, I'm like, oh, I could marry not only my desire, but my parents' desire for me to go to medicine as well, right? So doing the whole sports medicine side of the world was really being about, hey, man, how do I get to still travel on the UCLA squads and still wear the gear? And so being part of that, it was the journey, right? And I think in that journey, you just find people you end up loving. All of us, no matter where you go back to. I think if there's someone that's willing to take you under their wing and show you something cool, let me teach you how to tape an ankle. Let me teach you how to reduce the swelling. of this shoulder here, and let me help you make this person feel better, and then I'm going to give you the power to make this person feel better. For me as a coach, for me as a whatever we are in the intrinsic for wanting to help others, it was absolutely honored and being taken into the training room at UCLA, and then having, you know, my mentors, Jeff Schatt, you know, Dale, Rudd, Dave Polanski, Krista Polanski, you know, naming their names because they were such big pieces of my growing up. They believed in me. They're like, hey kid, you want to learn how to tape an ankle? Come on, come here. You know, you sit there and you're like, they're teaching you but that quality of education and one-on-one care, that's what did it for me. And that's what sparked it all. So just wanting to be around that and wanting to know that I can make a difference here and still wear the blue and gold was everything. So being part of a team, still knowing that I can contribute to the greater good, and then moreover, just developing really amazing relationships with people who, man, I'm like, oh, you've worked where, you've been where, and you just start to really, I guess, get the vibe, right? Get the itch, get the, wow, I want to spend more time with you.
All right, so let's keep going on the athletic training stuff, and we're gonna get a little bit serious for a minute here, because
yeah,
you know, we just had this past football season, we had a really scary incident involving Damar Hamlin. All right, he's an NFL player who almost dies on the field in front of a national audience. And thankfully, that story has a happy ending, as Damar is not only well and back to playing football, but it raised awareness of the significant impact of athletic training staffs and medical staffs that help save his life. Now, unfortunately, you were involved in a similar situation and it didn't turn out quite the same. Can you share a little bit of your story and how you felt watching things unfold that night with Damar Hamlin?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for asking the question. I think, you know, I talk about Al Lucas a lot. So on April 10th, 2005, you know, when during the Damar Hamlin incident, there was like, oh, you know, there has not been a player that's died in professional football. Well, let me challenge that, because there has been. You know, Al Lucas in April 10th, 2005, it was just a routine kickoff. We scored the first touchdown, and you know, Al was making the tackle, and during that tackle, he kind of, after the tackle, he just flipped over onto his back, and he just kind of, it looked like he was just snoring, right? I ran out to the field, and as soon as I saw him snoring and kind of looking like he was sleeping, I called, you know, I did the signal, which is, hey guys, you guys in the corner at the Staples Center, this is the one. He doesn't matter. It's just, if someone passes out, it's time to bring everything out, right? So stretcher comes out, and, you know, my hands go on, but, you know, it took us 8 minutes to get him off the field, finally 12 minutes to get him, you know, outside into the ambulance but realizing, you know, it was in the hallway of the Staples Center where, you know, he really did, he stopped breathing. And the realization of all that happening, you know, just bringing you back to my moment when I was actually there, you know, after the collar went on and my hands came off of him. It was just there was this kind of aura, this sense like, oh my God, what if this happens, right? And there's so much in my head going on, and there's still Al's life and in my head, and all of that weight was happening. And you're right. And in that experience, I didn't experience that alone. I experienced that with, you know, fellow coaches, the fellow medical staff, the players on the field, the players that were there. When that Damar Hamlin accident happened, I didn't know about it. I just got these texts. Hey, Brian, you okay? Just checking in. I'm like, well, I never hear from Coach Dobb. Why is Coach Dobson texting me? You know, and then finally I heard news and it made sense. I'm like, oh, they're checking in on the experience. And so then when I dove in and, you know, heard about what had happened to this player, of course it brings you back. I'm calling all the doctors like, oh man, just thinking about you, because we all went through it. We all went through that fire. And when realizing Al, you know, realizing Al wasn't going to be waking up, and that our friend who, you know, this is our teammate. This is what Al's third year on the team, you know, his brother's on the team. To have to come back to the locker room, you know, with that news, like the entire game was played. They didn't stop the game, There's differences between what happened in our set. There's that they didn't stop the game. We got Al off. They continued the game. They didn't know what had happened to Al. And I think about how much more mature we are today. Thankfully they stopped that game. Thankfully, but what if it? I don't know. All the emotions swirl around, but ultimately it taught me a huge lesson. It brought me to this, to the strength coach that I am today, to talk about what I talk about today, which is life and relationships. And, what is your soul really mean when you're bought into this profession? Like, I hope it's more than just your sets and reps. I hope you've been able to create some kind of connection. Thankfully, I had a connection to Al where, even though we fought a lot, we did, because I had a training room. I took care of the injured guys, and all he wanted to do was tell the injured guys, you ain't injured, get into this weight room, let's go. And, there was so much of a fight in that, but at the end of it all, he was right. You're only broken if you believe you're broken. You're not broken. You're bent. There's a way for you to get out. There's a way for you to fight. And he fought with everything. He put it all out there. The guy had a crooked leg, came from the NFL. They wouldn't let him back on. But you talk about heart, mentality, and soul with no excuses. That's who Al was. And today, you say that, our story doesn't have a happy ending. But I want to tell you, I'm making it a happy ending, because I'm continue to talk about Al Lucas, in the year 2023. 17 years afterwards, I'm still gonna, my God, his daughter's 20 years old now. It's ridiculous. It's crazy how time flies, but that story and what that energy meant and what it did to my career, how it made me hate myself as an athletic trainer. Like, I didn't really care anymore about anybody's injuries, but then to change it and to realize, I don't experience Al. I experienced the thoughts of Al. And I was mad in the beginning. I was mad I couldn't save his life. I was mad. I was blaming myself, and my thoughts swirled around that negativity. But, as time goes, and I hope for all of us, no matter what we go through in life, I hope that we're able to see the side that we're supposed to. Like, nothing happens to us, it always happens for us, right? Like, I get to talk about a player that died on the field on my watch. And it doesn't make me less than. It actually makes me more powerful, because I come to you with this story and this degree, knowing that all our clients are amazing clients. They're all there, but remember, they're alive. And so remember that they're alive and they're not broken, right? Make sure you make them realize they're not broken, right? And then you make them believe that, because that's who Al was. Always going, you ain't broken. You ain't broken, motherfucker. You get up, get in that weight room. Brian, give him, you have me write up the workout. He'd be getting all. That's who Al was. And so being able to embody that energy and talk about him now with whatever happens, being able to talk about that story now that this happened to me, like, yes, amen. Let's talk more about it. But the presence of an athletic training squad, oh man, like, there's nothing like having a family of people on the sideline looking out for you, right? It just makes you feel that much safer, that much. And what are you there for? You're there to help those players, be better, to prevent, to treat, right? To help rehabilitate. Like, that's a special space. So I hope we could, it's a whole nother talk, right, about the athletic training profession, but I hope they find their way. But this day and age, I'm so happy for the athletic trainers and strength coaches that are bridging that gap. Sue Falsone, Gray Cook, you guys. I think Kyle Barrow is a huge, player in this world, when it comes to that, just bringing that to the digital world and how things are moving forward in that world. I think what a great way to adapt that. But yeah, athletic trainers, woohoo, love you all. And to anybody that's gone through the cervical or any kind of life-threatening, whatever that may be, God bless you all. Remember, everything happens for us, right?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I know that was tough. And look, when big things happen, there's always an opportunity to tell the story. And
yeah.
Look, there's always a happy ending. You just have to be able to look for it, right? And
Amen.
when the heavy stuff happens, initially it sucks. It's hard, and you want to be pissed off, but down the road you can finally find some clarity. And sometimes you know, even though things don't end up the way they always want to, if you look hard enough, you can find some beauty in the mess. So, but anywho, let's move on to something a little bit lighter, okay? Because like I'm over here, I mean, I'm getting ready to, you know, it's raining outside. I'm gonna, you know, put on
no,
some slow music and just cry a little John Mayer. No, actually not John Mayer, but anywho,
we may throw a deep pass here a little.
That's
later
it.
on,
That's it.
right?
We're gonna change it completely. All right. Let's talk about some of the big time celebrities you've worked with there, Mr. Fancy Pants, with Mark Wahlberg. He's a Boston guy. He's a Boston guy, but I know you worked with him being on Entourage. So explain how do you go from like UCLA, ATC, you know, doing what you did, and then you're like, yeah, just chilling with Mark Wahlberg. That kind of seems like a, you know, it kind of sounds like a fake story, right? It's like I was doing this and I was doing this, but kind of how did that transition work, man?
Well, I always say, you know, my career started, and I think I just did a great job of making Gatorade. You know, I think that's really where it started. Just I make a good Gatorade mix, right? No, I ultimately when I look back at the career and even that little chapter with the Entourage, it is about relationships. I've always searched for relationships. I've always searched for, you know, I growing up only child. I mean, my brother wasn't born until I was 11, right? And then even then, I think that was a last ditch effort to try and save the marriage because they divorced like a year after. I went and lived on the East Coast, and then it was such this for me trying to be part of teams or sign up for the teams was really trying to get away more from everything that was happening at home, right? I think where does the backstory come about? I think always trying to be this part of the team that's like, I'm 5'0". So I'm coming in hot and small all the time. So for me, I learned how to be like a funny guy. You know, I would never be the strongest guy. So I just got to be helpful, you know. Hey, guys, I'll come in. I'll bring the juice boxes. But can I get a spot on the team? You know, it's like I wanted to be helpful and a part of it. I think that's where it really, you know, athletic training made sense and doing the teams makes sense. And when I was with the Avengers, it just so happened that the movie, I think the first one we did was The Longest Yard. I know the first one I ever did was The Longest Yard, and it was being shot in LA. I got a call to be the head athletic trainer for this football movie that was happening in LA. I had no idea what it was. I show up at this time and I meet Adam Sandler, the second director, who's like the coordinator, the football coordinator, Mark Ellis, who's the guy that first gave me my first break. Amy McDaniel, his assistant at the time. And it was just this, like, I'm standing here. It was like Scott Salisbury was the quarterback coach too. And I'm sitting here like, okay, so you warm up Adam, you do the thing. I'm like, hey, Adam, nice to meet you. This. And then, you know, what do? I had no idea who I was meeting. You just be professional. That's what they always, my head athletic trainer back in the day told me. You're not there it's not a location. It's not a vacation. It's a location. Be professional. All right. Say please. Say thank you. Always sit there. It's not about you. It's about what do they need. And that mentality, I can still hear Jeff Shat in my head just telling me all that all the time. And so, you know, I brought that professionalism there, and just so happened, hey, I knew how to do shoulder warm-ups for a quarterback. I knew how to, you know, speak to the higher ups about, oh, this is what I assessed. You know, I had been a head athletic trainer. So I think just in the energy of where things were going, my energy was saying, I don't want to do athletic training anymore. My heart wasn't really into going to another season, thinking about Al Lucas and everything. So being outside on a movie set was something my energy, I threw all of it in there. I ended up doing The Longest Yard. I ended up doing basketball. I ended up doing semi-pro with Will Farrell and Andre 3000. I ended up doing semi-pro with The Rock. And so all these sports movies. And then Invincible came around, and Invincible was with Mark Wahlberg. And so I was just doing my thing, covering the team. And that's when Mark came in, and, you know, day one, and he was shooting Departed at the time, and he looked jacked. He went out there, and then he was trying to do some stretches, couldn't really reach his ankles, you know, in the quads. Of course, ends up pulling his groin a little bit. I'm like, all right, let me work on you. We didn't do anything crazy, thankfully. We were just showing him the plays. He doesn't really need to be camera ready for that stuff for another 2 weeks. So I go and I'm going to go help him rehab his groin and get him prepped for the field a little bit more. So I go with him to the set of The Departed and I meet the rest of the entourage. And that's where I start developing that relationship, was when I was out there getting him prepped for the Invincible role when he was doing stuff for The Departed. And then, yeah, it just so happened that we shot the movie. The guy came in with 2 huge trailers. He's like, why do I keep pulling these muscles? I'm like, dude, you travel with 2 huge semi truck trailers full of just selectorized like body piece. You have an adductor, abductor machine. You have like all these, you know, a calf raised. Like, I was like, man, it's just we're doing parts, but you're not playing the music. And I think I need to help you play the music. So he started to see how we were training the guys on the field and how the dynamic warm-ups were, and kind of just, you know, open him up into that world of what we were really just calling functional training. But yeah, it was a side of like, hey man, we got to get back to being able to do this stuff. This is what we were doing now. You got to work on your balance. We got to, yeah, look at this. And he didn't want to be without it once the movie ended. So he offered me a job and I took it. And we ended up spending over a decade traveling together. And then another 3 years afterwards, where I opened up my gym and then still traveled with him, you know, when on movies that he needed.
All right, so I'm going to keep going a little bit because, you know, when you talk about Boston heroes, Mike gets all juiced up. You know, he has his Mount Rushmore, and I think it's Mark Wahlberg and Tom Brady and David Ortiz. And so, if you
Awesome,
get stories,
man, awesome.
So, I mean, is that a bad Rushmore though? I mean, think about Ray Bork and Cam Neely with the hockey. I mean, look, I mean, we you know, it is what it is. We're not going to get over with the Boston and you know, New York thing right now. It's not even worth it to Gotti. So.
Yeah. All right. Just remember Brady lost to my guy twice, but let's keep going. So talk about Mark had this 4 a.m. club, which kind of became this like social media sensation. So tell us, like, what was the genesis of like, why are you training so friggin' early in the morning?
You know, to be honest with you, it was I think the rhythm of it really started being on set anyway. When you're on set, like let's say it's a day call, you know, it's going to be a 12-hour day. So they go 6 a.m. to whatever. It would be 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. with the whatever 1 hour lunch or 75-minute lunch, blah, blah, blah. There's all these union things, right? But ultimately, the day would always start super early when you're away on set. Meaning, if you really want a great workout, it could never happen. And if you want it to happen at your hotel, then you need to happen before you left for set, which could be anywhere from 5 to 50 miles away, depending on the day, right? Wherever set is. So we just got to the rhythm of working out early. When we finally got home, we're like, oh, we're able to sleep in again, but it was not that way. You know, I got there, I'd get there at 6 a.m. I'd try to get the 1 hour workout by 7:30. I'd be headed home. It would take me an hour and a half to get home because of the traffic. I would miss my daughter going to school. I was like, yo, I can't do this anymore. Not going to do it. So, you know, the only way we figured it out was we just got to get back into doing it super early again before all of the routine so that I can leave his house by 6 a.m. and get to my house by 6:45 and still have my running day with my family. So that the introduction of the 4 a.m. at home was just so that we could continue to have this lifestyle together. Outside of that, between what was 3:45 to 6 a.m. when I left, man, it was a whole different life for me. Another LA life. You know, wake up, take my kid to school, you know, train a couple of people, get home by noon, take a nap from 12 to 1, wake up again, try to do my own little thing and get a little afternoon workout, and then again hitting the bed by 8. But that routine lived, and it was fine for me, you know. But it was all about the routines. And I think the biggest takeaway from the 4 a.m. club and all the things like that I would introduce is it just brought success into, you know, really understanding, like, what do we still need to be able to fit into this lifestyle? Both Mark and I have an LA life, and we're doing other stuff. The only way to fit all the stuff in that we want to take home still was still to just do it from 4 to 6 a.m. So trying to keep up to the routine.
So you brought up some good points, because some people will take this really literally, right? They'll read about this, or they'll see a Jocko Willink post when he's finishing his workout at 4:45, and they think, well, that's what I have to do, not realizing, okay, well, you're not an ex-Navy SEAL, you're not a Hollywood actor, but they think that time was the key to success, not necessarily what you talked about. It was just the key thing that you said in there, I think, is gold, and I give you kudos for this as a dad, is that you had certain things that were non-negotiable. And that was like, I'm not giving this up. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to do it. And that's one of the biggest things. If I start with a new client, I said the difference between the people who are successful and the ones who are not is they have non-negotiable habits. And whatever that means is, it doesn't matter if it's rain, shine, if I get home late tonight, if I have a bad day, no matter what, I'm getting this in. And I don't care whether it's, your walk, your meditation, your 100 push-ups a day, your, enough grams of protein, whatever it is, those non-negotiable habits, I think that is the real gold in what to take away from this, and not so much what the time says on the clock. Am I right on that?
Amen. Amen. There has to be an acknowledgement, a determination of who you are. I think that is what I saw in Jacksonville, working for Tom Coughlin. Just to bring him up, he was such a hard ass. You talk about that guy he didn't call me by name the first, I don't know, 2 years he knew me, because I was there going to camp, doing the thing, but I knew he knew my name. I think there was just something about this concept of, I know who I am. I am here to be the leader of this squad. I will lead by example. That exuded out of Tom Coughlin. Like, he needed to lead it at the expense of, there are other things I saw too. I was like, wow, his family never sees him, and other things like that. So, when you're on the outside looking in and you see all that stuff, sure, I respect all the stuff, and I love what I was able to take away. But then, even in the world for Wahlberg and what he had to commit to all the time, I said to myself, man, the one thing I'm not going to do is lose out on time with my family, because I could already leave so much. So we always had this huge respect for being home with our family. And so, yeah, I think if you can help your clients, yourself especially, with defining, who are you? Are you someone that's able to touch your toes in your 80s? Then I hope you practice it. Are you someone that's able to lift your grandkids? Yeah, at age 65. Well, I hope you can lift 50 pounds, by the time you're age 55. The parameters, the trajectory for, hey man, you want to be like, what do you want? Like, what do you want out of this experience? Who are you? And for me, once I had my children, and once I had I had to be the coach, the parent that I didn't have, right? And I think if we can all step into a little bit of those cracks in our life, there's so much of our identity there that sits into what we're already doing. Like, what are we trying to fill in our lives that make us whole, right? Although we all, like, as I say, we're all whole, but there's so much, when we really think back and look, it's like there's pieces of it that we want that will make us more whole. For me, connecting to more people and creating more friends, for me, like, that makes me feel more whole. It makes me like, I have to be able to tap into that energy. And I think the routines, whatever it is that you decide to do, whether it's, if it was waking up at 4 a.m., for Mark and I, spending time together, having those laughs in the morning, seeing each other, waking up and knowing that we're doing it, no one else is, together, that made it more special too. And I think, like, if you can adopt these things, these energetic pieces of the routine, and realize what you're doing for yourself, what you're doing for your family in the long run, that's when you can really honor and really, I have awareness to, like, hey, if I really want to be a dad, then maybe I shouldn't have this alcohol every night. Maybe I shouldn't binge watch TV 4 hours a night every night. Maybe I should spend more time. If I'm only spending 15 minutes with my kids, a week, and I'm spending 7 hours on Netflix a week. Maybe I can do something about that if I want a quality relationship with my kid down the road. Like, what do you want? Who are you identifying yourself to be? And then work on nurturing that. Work on, how do you say, like, the non-negotiable garden. And what are you really going to raise, and what weeds are you going to get rid of?
Hey, everybody, a quick break in the action here. Hope you're enjoying the show, and we appreciate you listening. We're working hard to bring you the highest quality content and best guests every single week. So if you could do us a big favor and go and like and subscribe to the show on whatever platform you get your podcasts on, it would be greatly appreciated. Be sure to listen at the end of the show also to find out where you can find out more information about our courses, as well as a special discount code for all our listeners. Thanks again, and let's get back to the show. Now, Mike, before you jump in, I want to kind of come back with a tack on point, connect the dots here, Brian. So we also have to understand is what those, having that foundation of those is what allows you to change and evolve. People think it's that, okay, that means you're just the same militant person all day, every day from the beginning to end. And that's not the case. And the perfect example of that, to your point, is Coach Coughlin. Because when he came to the Giants, he had a pretty major makeover in terms of how he treated everybody in the organization. And that, they say, was one of the things that catapulted us, because that was the first year I was there in 2007. And he's still, to this day, when there's certain people walk in a room and they just have an aura and a power to them. He's one of them. And to this day, I credit him. I show everybody, every clock and every watch I have is set 5 minutes fast, because it's set to what we used to call TC time. Because if I was working on somebody at the facility and I said, okay, what time, I got a meeting at 10, we got to be done by 10. And I'd say, is that 10 real time or is that 10 TC time? Because there was just this level of expectation that he said, 5 minutes early is late. And so because of that, everybody then took that on, and it wasn't necessarily to get you in trouble. It was to get you to expect more of yourself and to expect more of the people next to you.
Amen to that. Yeah, it is something that I think the great coaches do, right? They leave you with this sense of, you could take up your sword and shield too, and you can be responsible. You're very able. I believe in you, right? Like, this isn't something really out of, this is just how things are. This is how we do things here. So, I hear, Coach Coughlin let people wear sunglasses on the field after Jacksonville. I thought there was a whole change with that guy, but yeah, man, my heart goes out to him and what he taught me in that sense of being able to, I guess it falls under, if I'm doing it right, if I can lead by example and I can show people a way. It's that same, like Brene Brown puts it really well. It's like, when you really have quality parenting or coaching, that you're not real, people don't do things out of, because you shame them, it's because you guilt them, it's like, hey man, it's all good. You didn't really have to miss class. It's all, this is, but when you have that dedication, you feel guilty that you're not in it with that, whatever that energy is. And I think, the side of like shaming people, you didn't get up, you didn't do this, you didn't do the way I said that's just not the way to do it. It's like, can I show and make someone aware of the possibility of what it's like to be like this? And then now you have the choice. You can be this TC time or this time. And now after you make, and you can say, oh, wow, I've made several of TC time choices, and every single time I do, things are running a little bit smoother. And now you have an awareness to that. Now making those constant choices, what is that? Integrity, right? And so Coach Coughlin gave us this sense of integrity because of an awareness to make this choice about time, right? But time and energy being our two most precious commodities, what better way to really start to understand how to sit there and listen, I'm not perfect. I'm human. I have, do we all watch Ted Lasso here? I hope so. There's a big Ted Lasso plug for anybody out there. If you've enjoyed this talk, like, man, there's so much of what we talk about here in this emotional world, but it is the coaching space is a big emotional space. And we think that hard is all it. It's not. You should have seen how Coach Ed Hodgkiss and Coach Winter and Coach Dobb responded to the team when Al Lucas died on our team. You should have seen how the front office came together and how our director of operations, how we worked with just the whole medical staff to get the entire team over to Macon, Georgia, to have that funeral with Al and his family. You know, what do you like? It was as you say, like, you know, this is I like to say this in my talks, like, so if you've heard me talk before, it's I really doubt we're human beings having like a spiritual experience. You know, I more believe that we're spiritual beings having a very human experience. Again, just I don't believe we're human beings having a spiritual experience. Rather, we're spiritual beings having a very human experience. And you know, the human experience is ups, it's downs, it's that roller coaster of life. And I could easily have taken the Tom Coughlin experience with the Mark Wahlberg experience, and we could talk about all the drops, the sharp turns, the times when it was not fun, the times when I was getting yelled at, the times that I was like, you know, that I forgot something, or, you know, I mean, so many of those stories where you drop the ball, you know, but how do you get better? You don't get better unless you drop the ball and you pick it up again and you decide to go again, right? That's what the coaches did. They yelled at me like crazy. I remember, you know, pulling one of the guys off the football field. There was a lightning storm. You know, Tony Brackens was on the back. He, you know, couldn't, in crutches. I'm emptying the cart from all the stuff so I can load Tony Brackens on the cart. Lightning's coming in, you know, Coach Coughlin's blaring the wheel. I finally got the cart and I'm pulling Tony Brackens out. And Coach Coughlin says to me, "Don't worry, Brian. It's not as if you don't have more than $10 million on that cart to get out of the fucking storm." And as I drove away, I realized, well, what about me, Coach? What am I worth? You know, it's like, but you know, it's yeah, man. I share the story because I mean, it's a fun ride, and if you let it, you know, if you allow yourself the fun, it's as a coach, my experiences with the people from the staff to the players, everything has made me, you know, who I am. It's all relationships, right? So
let's kind of you know, change a little bit of gears here and sort of talk about physique training, because I think a lot of people start working out with these aspirations of being really camera ready, but you know, quite often they feel like, man, this is unattainable. And if I had a ton of money or a private chef, or I had this, if I had that, they sort of roll off this list of the things that if they had these things, they feel like they'd be camera ready. And what does the average person not understand about the reality of what a star actor or actress goes through to look the way that they do?
I think this is just, again, piggybacking off what I just said, seeing things on the championship level of what there has to be this decision of like, I am this way. So if I bought in for a role, you know, I am like, one of the things we used to train is like, if you want to look like someone who's 220 pounds, you have to eat, sleep, and perform and act the way someone who's 220 pound jack would be, right? I think there is this side of like, you have to be in it. Like, I think it's way easier to say like, yeah, but if I had someone waking me up at 4 a.m. to be alongside of me, that's as easy as a phone call and a friend. Okay. We all have ways to construct it. I construct so many excuses. I construct ways to dodge responsibility. I purposely, like, you know, cook. Okay. I hope my wife never watches this podcast, but purposely don't cook well so that, you know, she doesn't want me to cook, right? So it's just like, hey, you do the cooking since you don't like the way I cook, like, but you know, I'm a gourmet chef, let's be honest. But no, seriously, guys, can we just, I'm sorry, what was the original question? I want to make sure I stay on topic here.
No, I was saying, you
The
know,
aesthetics,
what is it?
the aesthetics. What are we missing
aesthetics,
out?
yes.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
okay, what are we missing out on? We all know what to do. I think that's crazy, right? Everybody kind of knows if you put the things together. Here's the 5 things, right? It's the calorie thing is for sure. If you're really trying to, most people want to drop body fat. All right. If you haven't started reading the book Outlive by Peter Attila yet, it's this great book that talks about medicine 1.0, medicine 2.0, medicine, really the side of like, where are we in medicine, and how preventative can we be in medicine, right? It's a fantastic book right now, out there, bestsellers, one of the Huberman guys, and it's all on longevity. But one of the biggest contributors to longevity is, it tells you in the book, it's exercise. This is such a huge piece of the puzzle for any fitness coach out there. If you're a fitness coach out there, read Outlive. It's going to make a difference in how you speak about what it is you do for people, right? But people in and of itself forget that they are this is a vehicle, right? And in the long run, what do you want it to be? You want it to be strong. If you want it to be strong, you got to move 20 minutes a day. You got to move. These are the rules. 20 minutes a day, you got to move. You got to do, like this says, a lot more water than alcohol, right? The pieces that you don't know, yes, get help with. Get a group together. Join the principles of program design. What a great, fantastic course to settle in and learn more about yourself and what it is that you do in lifestyle. You guys are on the forefront of bringing not just program design with what's happening in the weight room or in the gym, but what's happening at home. I love that takeaway from you guys all the time. So to be curious always about your vehicle, and if I knew I was only driving one car for the rest of my life, I would be curious to know, how do I maintain this car to the best of my ability? It's not a lease. I don't get to turn the keys in. There's no auto body shop where I just get to pay this and then fix that. There is a long-term thing happening here. The gas that you put in matters. And as a coach, I hope that, and again, I told you, my wife is a hospice nurse. So for me, it's very natural to bring in this idea, this concept that, hey man, I'm really glad we're doing you're getting your summer body ready. That's what you wanted. But the biggest thing is, I want you to really reflect on also, like, what else did you notice? Dude, I've been noticing, people tell me, I notice I'm a better father. I notice I now feel so much better that I'm able to, play football again with my son. Like, I've been part of that evolution for people, to know that that's where the magic is. That's where leaving people with the best version of themselves. Again, the Ted Lasso thing, right? I'm just there to help these people be the best versions of themselves. And for me as a coach, the best version of themselves exists, not just physically, but also in a spiritual sense. And yes, physical sense, eating wise, are they balanced? Are they? That's what I live for. I've been faced with that. I want you to have a good life. So, there's that.
Harry, I think you were hoping for like a 10-day carrot juice cleanse answer, weren't you? Or something like that.
You know what? I was hoping for some sort of cleanse, but whatever. Apparently that's not going to work. So forget it. We'll save the cleanse for another talk.
The abs will have to wait another summer, Harry.
Let's put it in truth, right? I'll put that simply for every coach out there, everybody out there. There's always a new diet. There's always a new workout thing. Everybody has Instagram. Everybody knows what's hot and what's whatever. Our mentor Gray Cook says, the methods are many, but the principles are few. And the principle here is like, you do need to play, man. You need to take care of your body. If you feel broken and you don't know how to fix your body, then get the help of someone who does. If you're someone who knows how to help people feel better, all right, then advertise it, because there's a lot of people who are in pain. And then when you get there and you work with them, remember, they're going to forget what you said. They're going to forget what you did. They'll never forget how you made them feel. Along my athletic training career, being an athletic trainer to make the team feel like I made a difference, like my Gatorade made a difference in the wins and losses. but it made me, I felt responsible for what was the output of that team. I feel responsible for the output of my clients, how they are as humans in this experience. I want them to kick ass. And so if I know that reminding them about sleep, or reminding them about, and now there's so many trackers, like, but let's face it, right? If you can help people feel better, you put anybody through a great workout and then you remind them, hey man, I'm so proud of you for taking the time for yourself today. Not many people do. I just want to remind you that 95% of the people out there will not dedicate the hour that you just dedicated with me. So I want to say, I love you for that, man. And giving that people the honor and that's what creates the long-term results for people. People start to shake their minds away from this. Oh, I need to be here for 8 months. They start to realize, I just love doing strength. I don't even, I drink beer. I work out. I mean, I don't even care about it. I just still love working out, right? Because I feel strong. It doesn't even matter anymore. You know how many of my clients are like that now? Because it's the very first things of the want and desire, this whole, yeah, that's the outside. That's smelling like, what's the outside? That's what, yeah. And it's like, is that the unattainable? No, maybe it's whatever. Maybe it's just the thing to look at that's sexy. But once you're in it and doing it, then it's like cooking. You know how to cook. That's a freedom. That's a knowing how to move your body, feeling strong to pick up, help install I don't know, whatever. But the human life, I think, for the movers and the shakers out there, there'll always be moving and shaking, right? And for the people that are ready to shrivel up and just make this like a computer world and sit there and live in that world, I can't help everything, no judgment, but I'll be here for the people, for the movers and shakers. And I hope the fellow movers and shakers will still be there for the fellow movers and shakers when the other people realize they still need to move and shake.
Well, great recommendation on the Peter Attia book. It should be mandatory reading for anybody who wants to improve their human state and live a robust life, not just long, but a robust life. And
amen.
And then the other quick point is, I'll send an edited version of this for your wife that I'll clip out all the truth about your cooking. All right, but I want to go back to the mindset stuff, because there's a lot of stuff you're hitting on that really strikes a chord, and I'm sure Perry, you're thinking the same thing here, because we wrote a course on program design where we don't talk about reps and sets till like section 6 or 7. Like we don't talk about picture and exercise. Like it's all about having conversations with your clients, and you say there's something, you talk about being the change, and you talk about mindset, and talk about how that sets the foundation for all of it, that the reps and sets almost don't matter if you don't have that there.
Yeah. Ultimately, if you don't develop relationships, right, quality relationships, if this is not a two-way street, then it will really never last. Okay. Bo Kaplan, I met him when a year into BRIK Fitness. And then to this day, he's still my client, even though BRIK Fitness is now closed. I still one of my clients from there, right? I think it is those kind of relationships that it's, for me, I'm so grateful for. But it's a two-way street. I don't just go there to tell him what to do. Like all my clients, you give a person a fish, you feed them for a day. You teach them to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. But I've created the intrigue for Bo. So this guy, Bo Kaplan, my favorite client. I love Bo. He is the CEO for Lakeshore Learning. So this company, they do all educational supplies, furniture, is big in the educational world, right? And he's taken this company. It has grown, but he has had to change along with it, right? The sports he played. When I first got to know him, he's like, oh, I just want to be bigger. I just want to be bigger. And he was, scrawny guy. Man, the very first time we started working out together, man, I was making him do legs because it's like he'd never done legs before. He just wanted to work on his upper body, right? Like, no, it's going to be the secret to, I was like, hey, man, you want your upper body. The secret's going to be going through your legs, and then start getting excited, right? But he said his body started changing. He started feeling stronger, feeling better. And so much so that he built a gym out over at the headquarters for Lakeshore Learning, a gym for his entire, all of his people that work there, to bring people to know what they know. That kind of sharing, that kind of like, I want you to also have this gift. That's like, for me, that's real leadership, right? Real royalty isn't someone who distinguishes between me and the servant. It's someone who brings other people to royalty, right? A real master isn't someone who creates followers. A real master is someone who helps other people become masters themselves. And so he had me run and teach people mobility stuff at work and how to travel, and such an amazing gift. Like, this guy is like, continues to ask him, but what he does for me in the light also, how he's been there to support me. Like, I had through so much emotional drama trying to close my gym, I didn't like, it was so much weight about what it was my membership going to do? What am I going to do with my staff? I felt so, but there was a side of me that was just so done, like, I don't want to pay $20,000 a month in rent anymore. I'm done. It's just too much. And thinking about, all of a sudden, it's just one more step. And then for me, the energy just wasn't there anymore. But thankfully, I had this Bo who was counseling me and, made me see that, hey, this is something I just didn't want to do anymore. Hey, you didn't need this gym to talk. You don't need this gym to change lives still. Don't forget that. You came here to change lives. You'll always be a life changer, B. And you'll always be able to just keep following that. And I think that's one of the things, if coaches can realize and stop worrying so much about, if we stay in the present moment, are you changing lives? Are you happy doing it? Are you excited? Are you pumped up waking every day that you get to change someone's life? Because if you don't have that anymore, I love when I hear Martin say it or whatever, like, if you don't really get excited to like be an awesome part of someone else's day, like, I don't know if this is really for you. Right. But, yeah, I think that takeaway, that little bit of having that quality relationship with clients is such a piece for me, that it really, the two-way street, knowing that my clients don't just know me as Coach Brian, they know me as Brian. We get serious for our hour and we have our boundaries. We don't turn on ESPN. We do our work, but then it's the time outside the gym where we get to flourish, not just as friends, but we flourish as brothers, sister, or whatever it is. But no matter who you train, I hope you're creating relationships beyond just that, of that professional sense, that you have this sense of, are you there to learn someone's life, to see them at their dark moments, to see them for their wholeness that they also have sometimes. Like, maybe today's not a day to train because someone's aunt just passed away. And we did talk about that. Like, there are pieces of that happen in real life that after 10 years of training with Bo, we have had so many. But those moments have brought us closer together. We will never not be there. And I think now it's like, there's pieces of it now that, man, the weight of those strong ties and relationships, the love, the love that binds us and ties. Like, if you're not really creating those quality pieces, then, man, I don't know if you're doing yourself the service in this coaching world. Because for me, that thread makes me keep going, man. It's the reason why you stay and the reason why you want to continue to learn and change, and you go to continue education or to things with people in mind. You start to try to learn stuff about back pain because someone in your clientele has back pain, and maybe that brings you to you guys. And then they start realizing, oh man, I really don't talk to Jeff about watching TV on his couch for 5 hours. Maybe we need to talk about this lifestyle. Like, there are the conversations that can only be had by someone who really truly cares. Like, hey man, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. I'm your friend and you can't do that because I love you. And you're sitting there talking, but you can't do that. That's a huge thing. So because that, coming from someone who really cares, that ends up falling with guilt if you continue to do that. Not shame, but guilt. He told me not to do it. Yeah.
It's funny because we created a whole section talking about client interface, and we have a section we teach people something called the key questions. Like, these are things you need to ask, because if you don't, your whole program's going to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was driven. We were doing some research. I think on average, the physical therapists, they observe them, and I think they listen to their patients for about 8 seconds on their initial client
Oh,
Yeah, it's something
interface.
crazy like that.
It was something crazy, and it's like, you owe so much more to these people that are trusting you with making them, making this. They finally got up the courage to come to you, and now you're going to blow it by not even just listening.
Yeah.
So we could go on all day with you, and if at
I
this
mean,
point,
even, oh, look,
yeah,
even this angle. No, I love what you just said there, because my mom, who's in dire need of physical therapy, right? But she needs someone to just give her belief all the time. And the physical therapist she's working with, tells her she's got to do this, she's got to do this, but she feels so guilty that she hasn't made progress that she stops going to him. I'm like, it's not about pleasing him. It is about you being okay. Like, you're injured, you're hurt. He's there. And I think there's a side of that where we're missing this need to, like, hey, you are not broken. All right. We are not, nobody's broken. I think this energy of, like, I need a fix, is just the wrong energy. To really receive people, love them as bent, and then let's make you better. I know no matter what, oh, your knee's hurting, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We know that you can get stronger at your core. Even if you get a knee replacement later on, you'll be better off for it. So we might as well start doing some movement now. Let's get back to playing, girl. Let's play. Let's get your energy playing. And you start to see that inner child come out. Ugh, ridiculous.
love it. And so before we wrap things up here, I warned you guys at the beginning, he's going to make you feel better by the end of this. And if you haven't felt better after the last hour, then I think you may be the problem. But let's talk about what you got going on in the near future, and what do you got coming up in 2023, Brian?
Yeah, I seriously, it's been almost a decade now speaking for Perform Better, speaking for Idea. Just, I think the platform, I continue to keep it in the fitness world, even when I've worked with companies and think it's always been in the fitness world. I think it's time to move past it, and it's time to share my story, because the side of really, do we want to see a side of in all of us, right? I'm not talking about coach, just all people out there. There's a responsibility you have to your body. Okay, it's to take care of this vessel that we travel in. It's it is to say that we are born upon a body you will never really own, right? Is to know that I got to take care of this. And yes, I just like my car, I hit the curb many times on my wheels, and it's like I upgraded those rims, and now those rims look but I still have to do my best, even though they've been dented, scarred, to still try to avoid. So I don't just keep hitting curbs now that I've done it once, right? Like, we still do. Let's live our best, and let's continue to do. So that energy, there's so many moms, people that would be like, who are retired, that could just help other seniors out. I know seniors that would still want to be a coach to other seniors just to help them be like, the worlds that want to create certifications based off of all the physiological things. I get it. Those courses that, hey, you're going to license you're going to work in a professional setting, like all the yes, all right, I don't work in that world. But are there enough people who just want to help people play? And can I keep certain things safe? Can a sidestep shuffle be a safe thing? Or do I really need a certification behind all that? And I think there is this side that we're losing all these people that could be coaches, but because we're not certifying the emotional part of it, the EQ part of it, that we're saying that you're not going to be a great coach. That's not true. Heart is one of the biggest things we need out of a coach. And to say that I want to certify for that, and I want to embellish that and talk about that, creating the platform, then let that platform be the voice for that side of it, right? So that's where I am. Hopefully I could bring that talk of more, how you lead your relationships and your energy along with your clients to more, bigger companies and things, like do a little bit more traveling in that sense. And yeah, just still spread the message, man, that life, man, it's a fun thing. You get a chance to build yourself back up all the time.
Love it. And I appreciate more than you spending this time with us and sharing your stories and opening up your heart and making everybody feel good today, as you always do.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Mike. You guys are awesome.
Mr. Perry, another good one in the books.
That's it. We are grateful for today, Brian, and we appreciate you so much, and thank you. It's always a pleasure catching up. And Eric, you can close us out.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
Much love to you guys.
And as always, we want to thank you for listening. And this has been the Principles of Performance podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Principles of Performance podcast. If you've enjoyed our content, please like and share on your social media outlets, as well as subscribe and give us a review on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your preferred platform is to listen to. For more information on the Principles of Program Design courses and workshops, visit us at www.principlesofprogramdesign.com and follow us on all of the social media channels where we post new content every day. To save 10% on any PPD courses, enter the discount code PRINCIPLESPODCAST10 at checkout. If you have any questions we can answer or suggestions for the show, you can email us at info@principlesofprogramdesign.com or message us on social media. Thank you again for your support.